My wife cheated on me with her boss, stole $200, $0 from our joint account to buy a house with him, and now she's trying to take everything. Can I even fight her legally after she's lied for years? I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife, Lisa, turned out to be nothing but a lying, cheating bitch. Honestly, the whole thing started with little signs, things I brushed off at first. She was suddenly more secretive with her phone, always locking it, hiding texts. She'd go out for drinks with her boss, Mark, more often than before, and I'd hear her giggling on the phone late at night. But I figured it was just work stuff, or maybe she was stressed. I didn't want to believe the worst. Then one day I noticed her bank account activity. She's always been pretty careless with money, but suddenly there were huge transfers, $50, zero here, $75, $0 there, going somewhere I had no idea about. I checked the joint account and it was all gone. Well, not completely gone, but enough to make my stomach turn. I asked her about it and she brushed me off, said it was some investment she was making that I didn't need to worry, but I knew something was wrong. I could see the way she was acting, nervous, defensive, avoiding eye contact. Then came the worst part. I was snooping through her emails just trying to get a sense of what was going on, and I stumbled onto an email thread. It was from her boss, Mark. They'd been exchanging messages for months, flirty texts, plans to meet up after hours, even talk about getting a house together. My stomach sank. This wasn't just a work relationship. It was something else, something I never thought Lisa would do. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. I couldn't believe the woman I married, the mother of my children, was cheating on me with her boss and stealing from us. I remember feeling so angry, so betrayed, I couldn't breathe. I wanted to confront her right then, but I knew I needed a plan. I had to be smart about this. I started collecting evidence, screenshots of messages, bank statements, even a copy of the transfer receipt from the bank. I felt sick every time I looked at it, knowing the woman I trusted had lied for years. She told me she loved me, that we had a good life, but all along she was sneaking around with Mark, planning to leave me for him and stealing hundreds of thousands to buy a new house with him. I still can't wrap my head around the level of deception. And the worst part, she's trying to take everything, our house, the savings, the kids' college fund. She's spinning lies to anyone who will listen, saying I'm the one who's unstable, that I'm paranoid. She's even accused me of cheating, which is laughable considering I've been busting my ass working to give us a good life. But I know the truth now. I see her for what she really is. A manipulative, selfish bitch who's been using me and lying to my face for years. I don't know what to do next, but I do know this. I'm done being a fool. After I gathered all the evidence, I knew I couldn't just sit on it and do nothing. My mind was racing. How did I miss all these signs? How did she manage to hide everything from me for so long? The betrayal cut deep, but what made it worse was realizing she had been planning her escape for months, maybe even longer. The way she was acting, more distant, more aggressive, everything added up now. She was trying to cover her tracks, and I was finally seeing through her lies. The day I decided to confront her, I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and a strange sense of clarity. I called her at work, told her I needed to talk. When she got home that evening, she looked nervous, like she knew what was coming. I remember standing in the living room, my hands clenched into fists, trying to keep my voice steady. I pulled out the evidence, screenshots of her messages with Mark, the bank transfer receipts, the emails. I laid it all out in front of her. Her reaction was classic Lisa, defensive, bitchy, and full of lies. "You're overreacting," she snapped, trying to dismiss everything. "You don't understand how stressful work is, and Mark's just a friend. You're paranoid and insecure." She looked me in the eye and lied through her teeth, claiming she never had an affair, that she was only talking to Mark about work stuff, that all the money she took was for some real estate investment she was doing on her own. She even had the nerve to say she was doing this for us to give us a better future. Yeah, right. She was planning her own escape route, and I was just supposed to accept that. I felt my blood boiling. I wanted to scream, to break something, but I held back. I told her I knew about the affair, about the stolen money, and that I was done being played for a fool. I told her I'd be taking legal action, that she wasn't going to walk away with everything she stole from us. Her face twisted into a sneer and she spat back. You're just jealous. You're insecure. Mark is the best thing that ever happened to me." That's when I realized how far gone she was. She was willing to lie, cheat, and steal just to get what she wanted. The emotional toll hit me hard. I'd been with her for over a decade, built a life with her, and now I was standing here, feeling like I'd lost everything. I'd trusted her with my life, my money, my future, and she threw it all away. For some guy who's probably just using her. I felt empty, betrayed, and furious at the same time. But beneath all that, I knew I had to act fast. The more I sat there, the more I saw her true colors: greedy, manipulative, and utterly selfish. I couldn't let her get away with this. I had to protect what was left of my life, and that meant making some tough decisions. After the initial confrontation, I knew I couldn't just let her walk all over me. The rage and disappointment kept building inside, but I also realized I had to be smart about this. Lisa was already spinning her web of lies, trying to paint herself as the victim, saying I was paranoid or insecure. She even tried to turn the kids against me, claiming I was overreacting and that I didn't understand her. That made my blood boil even more. She's always been the bitchy type, loud, manipulative, the kind of woman who always thinks she's right no matter what. But now she was pushing her luck. I sat down that night and started planning my next move. I knew I had to act quickly if I wanted to protect what was mine. First, I contacted a lawyer specializing in divorce and financial disputes. I needed to know what I was up against legally. The lawyer told me that, given the evidence I had a solid case, especially since she stole money from our joint account and lied about her intentions. She was clearly trying to hide assets and manipulate the situation, but I had proof of everything. I also learned that I could challenge her claim to the house, especially since she was trying to buy a new place with Mark using the stolen money. Meanwhile, Lisa's attitude didn't change. She kept acting like she was the victim, throwing tantrums, calling me crazy or possessive. She even accused me of cheating, which was laughable. The woman had been sleeping with her boss and stealing from us for months. How could she call me the bad guy? I knew she was trying to gaslight me, but I refused to fall for it. I had enough evidence to back up my claims, and I was ready to fight for what's rightfully mine. One thing that threw me for a loop was how she kept insisting she did all this for us, that she was trying to give us a better life, and that I was just too insecure to see it. She's always been the manipulative type, but hearing her say that made me realize how deep her lies go. She's willing to destroy everything just to get out of her mess and start fresh with Mark. I also found out she had opened a secret offshore account to hide some of the money, which just made me angrier. She's been planning her escape for months, and I was just discovering it now. I kept my cool around her, but inside I was boiling. I knew I had to be strategic. I started gathering more evidence, talking to a financial investigator, and preparing myself for the legal fight ahead. I wasn't about to let her take everything she wanted: our house, our savings, our future. She thought she could lie and cheat her way out of this, but I was determined to fight back, no matter what. I could feel the storm coming, and I was ready for it. I had to be. Over the next few days, things only got worse. Lisa's attitude shifted from defensive to outright hostile. She started throwing tantrums, calling me every name in the book, and telling the kids I was crazy for accusing her of anything. I could see she was panicking, realizing I was onto her, but she refused to admit any fault. Instead, she doubled down on her lies, insisting she was innocent and that I was just jealous of her success. It was infuriating. I knew she was lying, that she'd been planning this whole scheme for months. The stolen money, her affair with Mark, the fake investment plans, all of it was part of her attempt to run away with everything. One day, she went full bitchy mode and started packing her bags. She told the kids she was going on a little trip, but I knew better. She was trying to hide her plans to leave, to escape with the money and start over with Mark. I stayed calm, but inside I was furious. I knew I had to act fast before she managed to pull anything more. I called my lawyer again and told him I wanted to freeze the joint accounts, just in case she made any more transfers or tried to hide assets. He advised me to file for an emergency restraining order to prevent her from taking the kids or the money without my knowledge. While all this was happening, I also started digging into her financials more. I hired a private investigator to track her movements, her phone, her bank accounts, anything I could find. Turns out, she'd opened a secret offshore account in the Bahamas, and she was transferring some of the stolen money there. That was the last straw. She was trying to hide everything, thinking she could get away with it. But I was determined to expose her lies and fight for my rights. I knew she was planning something big, and I had to be ready for whatever came next. Meanwhile, the emotional toll was brutal. I felt like I was losing my mind, betrayed, humiliated, and angry all at once. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see her true nature sooner. I'd trusted her with everything, and she'd used that trust to manipulate and destroy us. The thought of losing the house, the savings, even the kids' future haunted me. I knew she was trying to take it all to spin a story that she was the victim, but I wasn't going to let her. I had enough proof now, and I was ready to fight tooth and nail. I could feel the storm building, and I knew this was only the beginning of a long, ugly battle. The legal process moved faster than I expected once I got the lawyer involved. We filed for an emergency hearing, and within a week, I had a temporary restraining order in place. It blocked Lisa from withdrawing any more money, moving the kids out of the house without my consent, or hiding any more assets. I felt a small sense of relief. At least for now I had some control, but I knew this was just the start. Lisa was furious. She called me every vulgar name she could think of, screamed that I was ruining her life, and accused me of being the one cheating all along. Honestly, her words didn't even faze me anymore. I'd heard enough lies. I knew the truth. In the meantime, I had the evidence I needed to challenge her claim to the house and the bank accounts. I also discovered she'd been trying to buy a new house with Mark. Using the stolen money, $200, gone from our joint account, transferred to her offshore account, and now being used as a down payment on a place she'd planned to move into with her boss. I couldn't believe how cold and calculating she was. All those years I believed we built a life together, and she was secretly planning her escape with someone who clearly didn't give a damn about her or our family. The emotional impact was crushing. I'd always thought I was the one providing stability, the one working hard to give us a good future. Now I saw how she'd been using me, lying right to my face. It was like my whole life was a lie. I felt betrayed, angry, and numb all at once. I couldn't even look at her anymore without feeling disgusted. I kept replaying everything, the late nights, the secret calls, the stolen money, knowing she lied about everything. She kept insisting she was innocent, that she was doing this for us, but I knew better. She'd been planning her escape for months, and I was just discovering it all now. Despite everything, I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized I'd been so focused on trying to keep the family together that I ignored the warning signs. I'd been blind to her true nature. Now, I was determined to fight for what's mine. I contacted a forensic accountant to help me trace the stolen money, and I hired a private investigator to keep tabs on her movements. I wanted to be prepared for whatever she threw my way. I knew she'd try to spin this as a victim situation, but I wasn't falling for it anymore. I had the evidence, and I was going to use it to protect myself and my kids. This was about more than just the money. It was about my dignity, my future, and finally seeing her for what she really was, someone willing to destroy everything for her own selfish gain. The months that followed were a whirlwind of legal battles, emotional exhaustion, and brutal realizations. Lisa fought tooth and nail, trying to claim she was the victim, twisting everything to make herself look innocent. She hired her own lawyer, and the court became a battleground of accusations and lies. I presented all my evidence, screenshots, bank records, witness testimonies, and it was clear she'd been lying. From the start, the judge saw through her bullshit and granted me full custody of the kids, along with a freeze on her assets until everything could be sorted out. The most shocking moment came when the court ordered her to return the stolen $200. She tried to deny everything, claiming she'd invested it in a property, but the forensic accountant proved otherwise. The offshore account she'd opened was closed due to the legal pressure, and she was ordered to pay back every cent. Watching her squirm under oath, I felt a strange sense of justice, like the universe finally catching up with her. She was furious, screaming, calling me every name in the book, but I didn't care anymore. I had what I needed: the truth, the evidence, and the legal backing to finally move on. The aftermath was a mess. I had to rebuild my life from scratch, but I was relieved to know I was free of her lies. The house was awarded to me, and I used the money she returned to start fresh. I got therapy to deal with the emotional scars, and I focused on my kids, making sure they understood that their mother's choices weren't their fault. Lisa moved out of state, trying to start over with Mark in some new place, but I knew she'd never be able to erase what she did. The damage was done, and she'd have to live with that. Looking back, I realize I learned a lot from this nightmare. Trust is fragile, and sometimes people hide the true nature behind a veneer of normalcy. I was naive, thinking I knew everything about my wife, but I was blind to her greed and selfishness. If I could give advice to anyone in a similar situation, it would be this: trust your instincts, keep your eyes open, and don't ignore the signs. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Protect yourself legally and financially, because the truth always comes out in the end. In the end, I'm still standing. I'm rebuilding my life, learning to let go of the pain and moving forward. My kids are safe, and I'm finally free from the betrayal that nearly destroyed me. It's been a hell of a ride, but I know I'll come out stronger. Sometimes it takes hitting rock bottom to realize your worth, and now I finally see mine.